morning. This is Eugenia with Radiant Warrior Living. I'm here today to talk about the importance of asking yourself the right questions. I myself am the founder of Radiant Warrior Living, and what I do is I help professional women to connect to who they are and find their voice. The reason finding your voice is important is that your voice is unique. Your voice is the footprint of who you are. The voice is something that you express in many, many different ways. So one of the things that my clients come to me with is understanding where they're at in life and finding ways to move forward, depending on what they have been through. If they're going through a transition or a change, there's always something that we can do to figure out where we're at and where we want to go. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about the importance of asking yourself the right questions is because without these questions, you won't be able to figure out what is going on, where are you at, and what are you desiring, where do you want to go from here. So the questions are key to understanding yourself and being able to go into self-inquiry and self-reflection. And self-reflection and self-inquiry are very interesting and sometimes very challenging experiences, but without understanding what you're going through, what are some of the things that you're experiencing in a specific moment, it's really hard to be able to put a finger on where you want to go and what are some of the things that maybe you're experiencing that you're not liking, that you would like to see change in your life. So I will, in this video, cover some of the key questions that are important and that I find very helpful for people to be able to really understand and to be able to go into a point of seeing, where you are and what are some of the things that you're doing and what are some of the things that you could be doing to move yourself to a different place, to maybe go within and understand what is it that you want to change, or to understand what are you experiencing, what are you feeling. So the first question is, if you are going through a transition or a transformation, or if you're looking at your life and trying to make an assessment of where are you at, is where do I want to see myself in the next year, 5 years, 10 years? The reason why it's important to ask yourself that question is because it creates a vision for you. And it's something that might take time, but it allows you to create a vision or to be able to imagine yourself and to see some of the things happening for you and to have some clarity around what are you wishing for. And one of the things is around when you're answering that question is to say to yourself, not just where you want to be and sort of the physical environment that you're in, but what is it that you want to experience? What is it that you want to feel in your life in the next year, 5 years, or 10 years? The next question that is quite important is what I'm doing today in my life, will it get me to where I want to go in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? The reason why this question is important is because everything we do today, little things, they connect with each other and they bring us to where we want to go. So it's a good way to say, am I doing something that maybe is wasting my time, my effort today that will not get me to where I want to go? Because overall, maybe you are doing some things that are clearly helping you or you're working towards the goal that you have in mind, but other things might not be the ones that you need to be doing. So it allows you to assess what are you doing today that is helpful for you to move forward or not. And it allows you to be a little more discerning and prioritize what are the things that you need to focus on. The next thing that I find is very important and has been talked about a lot is what is my why? And I find that it's a very good question to ask yourself, and I ask my clients that question and myself that question quite a bit when we are challenged in moving forward. When we are finding that we're blocked or we cannot move forward or we feel like we're procrastinating, the why is your purpose. It's your reason for being. It's your reason for, why you're doing something, and what is it in that action or in what you're doing that is connecting to your raison d'etre, as the French say, or sort of the reason of being, why you're here. That's a big question, and when you ask yourself that, it really brings you to the core of, why you do this for your kids, or why you are, why am I doing this videos? It allows me sometimes when I'm, for example, not sure of, if I want to continue this, if I feel like sometimes, I have certain doubts or fears, and if you're experiencing some blockages, your why will bring you to the reason and to the purpose of doing something. It will also allow you to feel connected to the bigger purpose. So sometimes if you have to do something and you're not sure if you want to spend the time or the effort, it is about connecting it to the bigger why. And the bigger why is really why we're living this life. So it allows you to connect some of the actions that maybe you're not so excited about, but when you connect them to the bigger picture in your life, you'll feel more motivated and inspired, and you'll feel that what you're doing today, or what you need to do in this moment, is important and needs to be done so that the bigger picture or the bigger goal can be fulfilled into life. The question that I find is important at a certain point in your life is asking yourself about your values. What are my values? What do I believe? What do I find important? And what are some of the things that I stand by no matter what? And connecting to your values, and actually having some clarity around those is very important. And those usually don't change. They might sort of kind of evolve in your life, but most of the time they don't change. And values could be, having connection with others, or being of service to others, having joy in your life. I find that it's important to have 3 key values that are there, present in everything you do. And when you ask yourself, what are my key values? What are my key things that are basically non-negotiables for me? And when you figure it out, everything you sign up to and sign up for to do in life, and you ask yourself if they pass the value test, it will allow you to determine whether those things are something that you need to engage in. So if you pick, let's say, having joy, having a connection with others, and being of service, and whatever it is that you're offered to do or comes to you in life where you need to make a decision, if you're going to spend your time on it and get involved in it, you can ask yourself if it's passing the value test. And again, it will allow you to connect to who you are, and it will allow you to stand by things that are important and non-negotiable. It will also create a foundation for you, that you'll be reminded that these are the things that you're not willing to change, and you're going to move forward no matter what. And it will also give you the confidence that you are being true to yourself, and you're being honest with yourself no matter what is happening around you. And the reason, again, it's important is because when you are truly living your values and staying true to yourself, even though things sometimes might be challenging for you, when you know that you're being honest and true to yourself, you'll know that you're able to withstand a lot of things that are coming at you. The other very important point, and I've asked myself that a few years ago, is, do I worry too much about what other people think of me? The reason it's important is because we're conditioned since we're young to look at others, to get feedback, to get others' approval. We start with our parents or our guardians' approval, our teachers' approval, and we want to be liked. We want to have others tell us how we're doing, and have them sometimes encourage us. And sometimes we grow to be so dependent on other people's approval that we do a lot of things based on what other people will think of us. And when you're able to honestly ask yourself that question, it will bring you to a place where you'll be able to see how many things you're doing, or what are some of the things that you're doing in your life for the wrong reasons, or for the reasons of being liked and pleasing others. Again, we all have experienced it, we all go through it, and sometimes having discernment, or at least clarity, around what are you doing because you want to do it and you feel it's the right thing, and what are you doing where you're finding yourself being somebody who wants to please somebody else, and maybe it's time to review whether it is something that's making you happy, or you want to continue doing it. There's nothing wrong with it. It will give you some clarity, and also a view into some of the motivations that you have, which will be helpful for you to see whether it's something that you want to continue doing. And sometimes it's maybe not a very pleasant feeling when you catch yourself thinking, okay, well, I've been doing this to please my parents, but at least you'll have some clarity, and you'll have some honesty and with yourself, and you can figure out from there how do you want to move forward. And maybe it's time to create some boundaries with others and start doing things that will truly please you and bring you that satisfaction and happiness that you so deserve and desire. One of the things that I find very helpful for me when I'm experiencing, certain blockages or fears, or question if I want to do something, is when I ask myself, what if this was my, excuse me, my last day? Would I want to do this? Or what would I do? Sometimes being a little bit black and white allows you to actually gain clarity around things that are important and things that are imminent, and being able to really focus on today, because a lot of us live our life, or most of us, thinking that we have plenty of time and we have lots of things that we'll be able to accomplish. So we put things off for tomorrow, and there's lots of stuff out there where people talk about live today, do it today, don't leave it to tomorrow. So one of the things that is important is when you ask yourself that question, it really helps you to focus on the really things the things that are just so valuable to you, and so important in to do, that you'd feel like if it was your last day, it really puts things in perspective for you. And I find for me, it does the same. And what it also does, it makes me care less about the outcome sometimes, about the result, about things that don't matter, or that don't matter as much if I were to really focus on the perspective or the point of my life. So I suggest that if you are sometimes struggling with starting something or doing something, and you worry about the outcome, you worry about how it will go, you worry about failing, asking yourself that question, what if this is my last day today? Would I still be doing this, or what would I be doing? Allows you to really clearly see what are some of the things that you would love, and you would enjoy, and that would make you happy. And it really allows you to forget about everything else that's not as important, and that maybe you were conditioned to worry about, or that have become something that you're carrying as a load that's maybe unnecessary. So I definitely encourage you to think about those. The other question I find is, when you look at your life sort of from a point of view of your life is sort of you coming to an end of your life, and you are thinking about sort of what you have been through and what you have experienced, what are some of the things that you might regret? So asking yourself that question, if I don't do this, or what are some of the things that I will regret in my life, if I were to look back on it, really puts things in perspective as well. And it allows the possibility of really seeing yourself, pushing yourself to a place where today it might not look possible, but if the regret is something that you're going to feel, you'd feel more inspiration and motivation to give it a shot. So whatever it is that you're finding that you're maybe dreaming of doing, but really hold yourself back for whatever reasons, ask yourself if you're going to regret not doing it or not experiencing it. Or, if you have sometimes conflict with a person, and sometimes we get so caught up in what we've experienced, and our ego takes over and we don't want to make peace, or we feel like the other person should make the first step. I find that this question, am I going to regret not talking to this person, or am I going to regret having this argument about something small? So it really puts things in perspective and allows all of us to be more specific, or to be to bring ourselves to a slightly different place in life, and not get caught up in some of the smaller stuff, and not let our ego take over. So I find that question really helpful. The next question that I find helpful, which allows you to put things in perspective about your life, about your career, about things you're doing, is living my lifestyle. Is living the lifestyle I live now, does it support and enhance my spiritual, my mental, and my physical well-being? A lot of the times we're so busy, we're so stressed, we're running, we're doing things, we're working, we have lots of responsibilities, and asking that question allows you to put things in perspective for your mind, body, and soul, and your spirit. And if any of the things in your lifestyle you find are not helpful for your well-being, it allows you to see what are some of the things that might need to be changed. Are you stressing too much? Are you spending too much time at work? Are you indulging in certain behaviors that maybe are not good for you? Or, are you working so much that, you might feel slightly burnt out? The reason all three aspects, or all four aspects, your spirit, your mind, body, and soul, are important, is because without one of them, your mental well-being, the physical well-being is important, but without the mental well-being, it's still not okay. It's still not supportive for your whole, for you as a human being, as a person, as someone who is connected to the bigger picture. So asking yourself that question might be, a difficult one as well, because sometimes we end up in situations where we're living a lifestyle that is maybe supported by the society, and we look good, and we feel like we're doing everything we can, and we look really good on the outside, and meaning we look like we're sort of doing well. But when you start questioning some of the things that you're doing and how good they are for you, it really allows you to see clearly what are some of the things that you might need to change if you want to sort of feel holistically well about yourself. So I'm hoping that these questions were helpful, and that you can, at different points in your life, ask yourself those questions. And how about starting today? I personally, go through that assessment from time to time, and maybe don't use the whole list of these things, but I definitely ask myself about, the key things, and that sometimes bring me to a place where I really need to see things a little more clearly, especially if I'm, wanting to make a change, or there's certain things I struggle with. I want to share also with you this technique of, it's called the 5 why principle. I find that very often we go through different feelings and experiences, and we don't know sometimes where it's coming from. We might be feeling a certain way, and we think that something caused it, and we kind of stay there, or we kind of try to get rid of the feeling. And a lot of the times, the root cause of what we're feeling is not really what we think it is. And the 5 why principle allows us to go kind of 5 layers deep into where that feeling might be coming from. And we that way can deal with the actual root cause and not the symptom of the problem. In the Western medicine today, a lot of the work that is being done, and the medication, it deals with the symptom. It doesn't deal with the root cause, and that's why we have sometimes people struggle so much because the root cause is never surfaces, or it doesn't surface in many cases. So medication just sort of covers the the symptom of the problem. So if you want to be self-reflective, and even you can use it with your kids, when you want to really clearly help them understand themselves, or also understand their motivations or your own motivation, the 5 why principle is really helpful. This 5 why principle was thought of by a founder of Toyota, Mr. Toyota. He used this why principle in many ways in his life and in business as well, because he always thought that when you look deeper into the issues of why the business is going a certain way, or why things are not working out, there's more effective ways to do things. He used this principle, and this principle is used today, and I find it very, very helpful. So basically, if you, for example, are feeling upset about something, you can ask yourself, why am I feeling upset? And the answer might be, I have had an argument with one of my teenage kids, for example, or I've had, a conversation with my boss who was, not nice to me and sort of reprimanded me for something. So then the next question is, why did I have an argument with my teenage daughter or my teenage son, or why did my boss reprimand me? So the answer to the why did I have an argument with my teenage son or with my teenage daughter is, for example, the answer is because they wanted to go out to a party during the week, and that's a no-no in my books. So I was very upset about that. Or why my boss reprimanded me. I was late to come to the meeting. That was very important. It was a staff meeting, and it did not look good to the organization. The next question is why. Again, we're going to the next layer. Why am I feeling? Why was I upset? That my child wanted to go to a party, or why was my child going to go to a party during the week, and why that is upsetting to me, and or why was I late to the meeting. So why was my child going to go to the party? The answer could be they're not listening. They want to party all the time, and I'm very concerned for them. Or why was I late to the meeting? I've had issues at home that I needed to deal with. So why did my child want to go to the party and has been partying a lot lately? Why am I concerned about that? Well, I'm concerned because they have not been doing well at school, and overall, I feel very much worried about them. So now you have an answer why you kind of got to the next layer, and you can continue asking yourself that question. Why am I concerned about my child? Well, I really see that I worry a lot about my kids, and sometimes I don't trust them because maybe I don't feel like they're responsible enough. So now you maybe have your answer. I feel that they have not been responsible enough. So now you can actually deal with the root cause of the problem. Your concern is, and things that are maybe upsetting to you are that you're feeling that your child is not being responsible enough. Now you can come up with a plan to have a conversation with your child. Or in the other case, when you were late for work, why did I have had issues at home? That's a concern. What are some of the things, why am I concerned about the issues I have at home, and so on. And the place where you can stop is when the answers become useless. So you kind of get to that bottom layer, and now you can actually clearly see what are some of the things that are upsetting you, and maybe you need to deal with and get to the root cause of the problem. The same with with kids. If sometimes you're finding that they're not really clear on what's going on, the why, the 5 why principle method is very helpful to get to the bottom of why you're feeling this way. And the reason it's important is when we understand the root cause of why we're feeling something, we can actually deal with that particular root cause versus do all the other things in between that maybe will get us a result of something temporary, or maybe will help us deal with something on a temporary level, but will not bring us to the kind of the bottom line, or bring us to the point where we can actually solve something that we're bothered by or that's coming up for us. So I'm hoping that the 5 why principle you might be able to use, or at least keep it in mind for if there are any situations that will come up that might require a kind of a more in-depth analysis. And if you're, let's say, questioning your career, I find that in our 40s, a lot of women, I find, especially, and men as well, of course, question themselves and kind of ask themselves, am I in the right place? Is it really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, or should I reconsider? Why am I feeling this way about my career? So those are the things that actually, this method could be very helpful in getting to the point of a little more clarity of why you're feeling something, or if you're in a relationship where you're not sure where it's going, or you're not sure if you should move. I mean, this applies to really any big or small thing that you're experiencing and that are faced with in your life today. So I'm hoping that these questions were helpful. I'm hoping that you can ask yourself these questions, especially in a place where you are maybe looking at, okay, what is the next stage in my life looking like? Or where do I want to see myself next, or what is bothering me right now? I find that as women, we're very introspective, and we do spend time, doing self-reflection, and having the right questions and asking yourself the right questions at the right time is very helpful. The same with relationships with other people. Excuse me. Sometimes when you're experiencing conflict with someone, it's really about asking questions that sometimes, and open-ended questions can be helpful. I also find that people, when they have teenage kids, are sometimes not sure how to communicate with them. So asking open-ended questions is very helpful, because I find kids can be very uncommunicative or unresponsive. And when you ask them something, you just get sort of this yes or no answer. But if you're asking a yes or no question, you are sort of stuck. So open-ended questions are very helpful. And open-ended questions look like, how do you feel about this? What do you think about this? This allows someone else, they can't say yes or no to that question. So having a little more open-ended questions in your life, or sometimes when you're meeting new people and you're not sure how to communicate or how to connect with someone, open-ended questions are very helpful, because they allow you to really connect to the other person and have them maybe tell their story to you, where you can get to know them a little bit better, and you'll be able to connect and maybe help them open up. I find that sometimes people can be friendly and others are very closed, and when you are, especially in a business environment, and you need to start a conversation with someone, it's sometimes kind of a little bit awkward with certain people, because they can be a little more closed off. So open-ended questions are really, really helpful. And I find, I use them a lot with clients, especially when somebody is not sure where they're at and they're kind of answering, I don't know, not sure. And I find that happens with teenagers as well. So use open-ended questions as much as possible, and you might get a window into what's going on in your kids' lives, or hear somebody's story and get to know somebody a little bit better and be able to connect with them better. So thank you very much for everyone who has been watching. I appreciate it. And please watch next week. I've got an interesting topic coming up. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.